On March 17, 2023, Tanzanian wildlife rangers recovered a blood-smeared GoPro from the Hadza Valley, memory card still intact. The final 38 seconds show a Hadza hunter sprinting through acacia scrub, bow discarded, screaming one word in Swahili, NYOKA, snake. Behind him, something coils between the trunks, thick as a baobab trunk, scales flashing like oil on water. The footage cuts when the lens shatters. He vanished. Until 3 nights later, when he staggered into camp barefoot, eyes wide, whispering that the forest had grown a new god, and it was hungry. The Hadza call the Hadza Valley Ayasi's throat, a corridor of fever trees and termite mounds where the Rift Valley drops into shadow. For 3,000 generations, they've hunted here with poison arrows no longer than a forearm. Population, fewer than 1,000. Infant mortality, 40%. Yet they persist, reading the language of hoofprints and broken twigs like city dwellers read subway maps. They know every crack in the earth, every bird that changes its song when danger passes. They know when the wind shifts and carries the scent of rain that never arrives. They know hunger the way sailors know the sea, intimate, relentless, always waiting. March 14, the rains failed for the 3rd straight season. Baboons raided the berry patches at dawn, stripping branches bare before the women could gather. Children's ribs showed like ladder rungs under dust-caked skin. His wife hadn't spoken in 2 days. Her silence was heavier than any cry. Hunger is a patient hunter. It sits in the shade and waits for you to weaken. He rose before the stars faded, took his bow, his 3 remaining arrows tipped with acacanthera poison scraped from desert rose, and walked east where the honey-eyed birds still called. He tracks a vervet monkey, darting shadow, snapped twig, urine scent sharp on bark. The bird flits ahead, leading him deeper. He knocks an arrow. The monkey freezes on a fever tree limb 30 feet up, tail curled like a question mark. He smiles, first meal in 4 days, draws the string to his cheek. Then the temperature drops 3 degrees in 10 seconds. The monkey's chatter dies mid-syllable. Its eyes reflect something massive sliding between trunks. The branch bends though nothing touches it. A hush falls so complete, he hears his own pulse in his ears. He hears it first, an exhalation like a punctured tire, wet and deliberate, coming from everywhere and nowhere. He pivots. Nothing, only the sudden absence of birds, of insects, of wind. Even the leaves stop trembling. He marks the tree with his knife, 3 vertical slashes, Hadza code for danger, do not follow. The blade chatters against the bark. His hand shakes harder than it ever has on a hunt. He returns at dusk empty-handed, stomach knotted tighter than the bowstring. The elders dismiss him. Baboon trick, heatstroke, too many nights without meat. But the children wake screaming about a rope that walks, a rope with eyes, a rope that breathes fire inside its skin. Mothers hush them, but the story spreads like termite wings at twilight. What stalks a hunter who has never known a predator larger than leopard? March 17, 4:12 a.m. The moon is a clipped fingernail above the escarpment. He defies the elders. 1 arrow, 1 chance. The GoPro is strapped to his chest, borrowed from a German researcher studying honeyguides who left it just in case. He needs proof, needs them to see. The camp sleeps uneasily behind him. He slips between the huts like smoke. He finds his marker tree. The slashes are gone, bark peeled in perfect spirals, exposing pale wood that weeps clear sap thick as honey. The spirals are too even, too deliberate, like a potter's thumb on wet clay. The forest smells wrong, sweet rot, copper, something reptilian that coats the back of his throat. 20 feet up, the monkey carcass dangles from a fork, gutted clean. Spine removed through a hole no wider than a fist. No blood on the ground, not a single drop. The earth beneath is dry, thirsty. His breath fogs the lens. He whispers to the camera. It drinks the bones. It drinks everything but the scream. Silence detonates. Then the crack of a trunk, the size of a man's thigh splitting like green bamboo. Something erupts from the canopy, segmented body, matte black, each scale edged with pale bioluminescence that pulses like a dying heartbeat. No head visible, only a seam that opens sideways into wet darkness lined with translucent hooks. It strikes faster than the frame rate can capture. Impact. The GoPro spins. His scream is animal, raw, stripped of language. We see sky, earth, sky, then the lens fills with a single amber eye the size of a shield, pupil slitted, ancient, curious. Blackout for 11 minutes. When picture returns, he is running. Bare feet slap red clay. The creature pursues not on the ground but through the trees, body looping in impossible S-curves, branches parting like curtains before a storm. Thermal drone footage recovered later shows a heat signature 30 meters long, core temperature 42 degrees Celsius. It radiates like a furnace. His narration, ragged between footfalls, it tastes the air where I will be. It knows the shape of my fear before I feel it. Thorns rake his skin, blood trails behind him like breadcrumbs. He vaults a termite mound, rolls, keeps running. The creature never touches earth. It flows above him, a nightmare river. He bursts into a dry riverbed, moonlight silver on stone. The creature hesitates, hood flaring, pseudopods tasting the open air. He dives into a thicket of wait-a-bit thorn, the only place too tangled for its bulk. Thorns tear flesh, but the coils cannot follow. He lies bleeding, listening to the forest rearrange itself around the absence of pursuit. Dawn finds him crawling back, one foot swollen, lips cracked, eyes fixed on something only he can see. Hadza oral history speaks of NYOKA, the snake that walks upright in dreams, the one that taught the first hunter the taste of his own heart. Dismissed as metaphor, until now, camp at dawn, he collapses in the dust. Elders circle. No one touches him. His skin is blotched with hand-sized bruises that pulse like gills. They recognize the marks. Pressure rings from constriction, but no broken bones. The creature samples before it kills. It learns the flavor of resistance. Drums begin, hollow baobab logs, syncopated like failing hearts. Women grind strychnose roots into paste thick as tar, the same poison that fells elephants. Boys collect porcupine quills, dip them in the brew, bind them to arrows with sinew stripped from yesterday's kill. He sketches the creature in ash on a hide, spirals within spirals, each loop a segment a mouth. The elders nod. They know this story, but never believed it walked. Plan, lure it to the copy, a granite outcrop riddled with hyena dens, the only place where stone forgets how to bend. The rock is too narrow for the snake's girth. They spend the day preparing. Children gather chili seeds, pound them into powder fine as dust. Old men sharpen stakes from ironwood, fire harden the tips until they glow cherry red. Women weave nets from Sansevieria fiber, strong enough to snare buffalo. Every hand moves with the quiet certainty of people who have decided to die on their feet. Night fires ring the copy in a perfect circle, goat fat and dung burning blue. He stands alone in the center, goat kid tethered to a stake, bleating like a lost soul. He sings the death song, voice cracking but steady, the same song his father sang when the hyenas came for the week. The creature emerges from the tree line, moonlight reveals iridescent banding, each segment armored with horn-like scutes that click when they pass. It rears, hood flaring into a lattice of pseudopods that taste the smoke, the fear, the chilly dust drifting on the wind. Arrows fly, not to kill, to enrage. Porcupine quills embed in softer seams between scales. The beast surges forward, earth trembling. He dives into a crevice no wider than his shoulders, the one mapped at noon. Inside the crevice, he lights a torch of fat and commiphora resin soaked in chili oil. The smoke is acrid, laced with capsaicin from wild chilies crushed underfoot. It billows out like dragon's breath. The creature recoils, chemosensory overload, pseudopods curling like burnt paper. Final gambit. Elders collapse the entrance with fire-hardened stakes, wedge them crosswise, pile boulders. The copy becomes a kiln. Thermal imaging from the recovered drone shows the heat signature thrashing, contracting, segments bursting like overripe fruit in a pressure cooker. The ground shakes. Dust rises in a column visible from the next valley. Then silence, absolute, the kind that follows an explosion. Dawn, they dig with hands and broken spears. No body, only a tunnel bored straight down, edges glazed like glass from unimaginable heat, 30 feet deep. At the bottom, a single scale the size of a shield, still warm, veins of bioluminescence fading like embers. He holds the scale to the camera, turns it so the light catches the inner surface, mother of pearl etched with tiny suckers that once tasted his sweat. Behind him, the forest is quiet, too quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind. The earth itself seems to hold its breath. The Hadza do not celebrate. They pack camp before noon, roll sleeping mats, bundle arrows, load the donkeys borrowed from Datoga neighbors. Children walk in silence. Women carry water gourds on their heads, eyes scanning the tree line. The elders burn the hide sketch, scatter the ashes so the creature cannot follow the map. Some threats you don't kill, you outlive. But the earth here remembers, and memory has no expiration. The Ida Valley remains closed to researchers. The Hadza refuse to return. Rangers who patrol the boundary report finding fever trees stripped in perfect spirals, monkey carcasses drained of marrow, footprints beside furrows wide as cattle troughs. The GoPro footage is classified. The scale is locked in a vault in Russia, still warm to the touch on certain nights. And somewhere beneath the copy, something waits, patient as hunger, learning the taste of stone.